Hi, my name is Nina Fischer. I'm a 3D animator, and today I have the pleasure to show you my Ragdoll workflow. I want to show you how I animated, especially ears, on the Griffin Queen, which is starring in the short film M and Selma Go Griffin Hunting, which was released, or which is actually launching at festival circuits since beginning 2025. And I will now try to recreate something similar like I did here on the ear. I prepared some animations. So for sure, when you want to do animate something like that, I still highly recommend you that you go in, you check your references, or especially for ear animation, I would, even for ear flicks, I would search and I would go for some great reference research that I know how would the root control of the ear needs to rotate to get a great basis for my shot. Now I show you on this magnificent creature how to use Ragdoll and to get some nice animation for free. Because that's the cool thing. You could use, for sure, you could use every overlapper. But I have the feeling that some overlapper tools, that the results are a little bit too floaty. You can work on the softness for sure. But the director, he specifically asked for rigid ears to make it a little bit more realistic. And I think Ragdoll gave me the perfect result I was searching for and a good control of the rigidness for the ears, but still getting a nice overlap and realistic feel. And I think there's not a lot of overlappers out there that not only gives you overlapping motion, but also the influence of the head. So I want to show you my setup, and it's pretty straightforward, so nothing new. I select from the root towards the tip, and then I go to Ragdoll, assign and connect. And probably, the cool thing is we probably won't need to change anything here. So when I press play, there is not a lot happening. I mean, there is a little bit of motion going on, but we still need to improve that. And the first control, this one is the one that is still, this one is animated. When I go to the attribute, to the channel box here, to the marker, this one is the animated one, which this is my head influence. You could also say, if you want more overlap in the root, you could also assign a marker to the head, which can be the animated one. We can go to the start frame. If you like, we could still use or select those controls, and we go to the ear, and we could increase the radius a tiny bit, maybe a little bit shorter. Maybe this one, we could make it a little bit thinner. And the cool thing about this setup is it doesn't need to match the geometry of the ear exactly. So we're totally fine with the capsules. Let me just make the radius a little bit, this one. Yeah, I think we're good with this. And the cool thing was, like, it's really a standard setting that gives you so great results for ear flicks or ear motion of any kind of creature. And I don't even, in this case, I don't even need to change things in the solver. I just stick for now with the automated suggested scene setup that was just applied automatically. But feel free to play around more with the solver, with the gravity, the time scale, the level of detail. So these are all things you can play around with. But for our ear example, we are totally fine with just setting, we're just going to improve some marker values to get a nicer overlap, but still maintaining it rigid. So I selected my 3 markers. I go to my marker setting here in the channel box. Could be depending how big your creature is, how big the rig is, or your scene is, that the rotate and damping stiffness values, that they are going to vary in your shot. So maybe your settings will be different to achieve the same result. So just that you're not surprised. But I can try to bring this value a little bit down because I want less stiffness. And I have some basic I roughed in some basic head movements, and now even without animating, do you see that? I didn't even animate the root. I get some cool reaction of the ear based on the step or the fake head movement here on the head. And this is such a cool result. And then I can go in and say, I can select those controls. I can even, maybe I increase the damping just to test like the damping and the stiffness. This is the things you can play around with a lot. And also here, the first one, I want even less stiffness. So let me bring this down more, and let's have a look. And then I get some cool movement for free. Let me show you my other examples. So let's see how it could look like on a head shake. I tucked in the wings that we can focus on the ears. So this is just a rough base, a head shake. So this is so cool. So we are getting so nice overlap. And here, what I did additionally to get a better feeling, when the head goes down, I rotated the main control up and then the other way around. So I get a little bit more motion out of it. So not only the head, but also I animated the root. When I do press play, let's watch it again. This is with root animated. Or let me just mute this controller. Let's see if this works. The head shake, because then we can see what we get even without additional animation on the root. We get some nice overlap. And I just make sure that here in the beginning, I have time that the ragdoll setup can settle, and then my animation is starting. Because otherwise, when you start too early, you will always get this flop down in the beginning, and I try to avoid that with giving it some extra time to settle, and then the animation is starting. Just a little heads up. Let me unmute it. Unmute selected. And with ear flick, the same thing. And now in a second, I'm going to bake everything so we can, like, for sure, as I said before, I would go and check in some nice references, like how the root of the ear should rotate in an ear flick. But it's crazy how much I get with just animating one control. Let's go back to this one here. I can select, you can just bake it out, and we're getting a nice result. I think I would also try, let me also select this one. I'm not sure if I need to select that one. I go to Ragdoll, record simulation. What I like doing is I use my selection and I record it to layer. Then I go record markers. And I mean, yeah, this is also 200 frames. Then I go to the solver and I go off so we can see it clearly. And then we got it baked on a layer. And this is all what we got for free with a nice, rigid, but still overlappy ear, which you can also increase by hand or redoing it. And also I would always check if there are Euler flips you need to fix. Let's try baking the other animations as well, because I think they're a little bit more interesting. And let's see, Ragdoll, record simulation. Let's try the head shake. This takes a little while, but I think it's still pretty fast. This is a cool result already. I think it's actually a little bit too floppy and even a bit too soft. So what we could do to change it is first, so we can really work on the correct or better rotations of what the ear is supposed to do. We can also for sure change it afterwards or work on animation layers to improve on top some of the ear shapes. But if you're not happy in general with, let's say, with the softness or rigidness, you can go in there, you can just mute your layer again, and then you go back to your markers, and there you just, maybe you go back the damping to 1, or you adjust the rotate stiffness, maybe you increase it a little bit more, and that's a great way to go to achieve the the desired look you want. Yeah, this is pretty cool. For sure, it definitely needs more work, but it's giving you a cool basis. And this is actually like how I animated all the ears for the Griffin Queen in and Selma Go Griffin Hunting. I hope you like this little introduction and have fun with Ragdoll. And yeah, I'm just super happy to see this little ear wiggling. Hope you do as well.